Let's have a talk, let's have a chat, talking about a little this and that. Hello and welcome to This and That. I am your host, Mary Easterling, and today we are continuing on our new little series called The Big Reveal. We've talked about serpent seed. We've talked about dragons. We're going to talk about God's response to the three dragons, which is called for keep. Added into this will be a small word from someone else, and we're going to note the dates when these things were given. For keeps was written October 22, 2000. The other word was written in 2016. We are now in 2025. Call me your proverbial dense-headed mule, because it takes me like 5 and 20 ever to finally get the message. Or is that massage? Brain massage. These days I kind of feel like I need one. Okay. However, before we begin, to listen to the rest of the series, because this will be episode 3, and anything else from This and That, go to talkingaboutthisandthat.wordpress.com, click on the podcast link, and scroll down to the Big Reveal series. Bob Newman's words have a written portion that I'm reading off. Those written portions will be on our blog. They will have a click link to this audio, or to the audio for that word. Like serpent seed, we'll have one that goes to serpent seed, 3 dragons, to 3 dragons, 4 keeps, to 4 keeps, etc. And since the audio's open in a separate tab, you can listen while you look. Bob writes, in the word, we are warned about the trumpet, quote unquote, whose call is unclear. 1 Corinthians 14:8. For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? So when I, quote unquote, hear, anyway, anytime, any place, a clear voice, I stop and listen. Today I heard again the voice of the Lord of hosts. As usual, it bothered me, and I was more than willing to sit and wait. For a long time, I have been, quote unquote, preparing for battle. Something few of my brothers and sisters see coming as I do. But it's not their fault. If they were, quote unquote, called and, quote unquote, commissioned to stand in the day of battle, that would have been their only focus, their only goal. For the day of the Lord will be a time to flee, to run. For the Lord of hosts made it very clear to me in a very short statement that brings very intense images. Quote, the season is come and perilous times have just begun. Too many are still clinging to personal issues and useless agendas. They do not know that the harder they cling to the things that offend me, the tighter they seal their own destruction. I offered grace and mercy, and they still demand position and affirmation from men. Power and wealth are their heart's desire, not my kingdom. Full stop. I was one of them. I paid a very high price for my power of position that I got within a church. I went from being John Q. Christian to falling desperately in love with Jesus Christ and turning into a Shulamite. Go try telling that to your pastor and see how well that flies. Oh yes, pastor, I'm now a Shulamite. You're a what? A Shulamite. A what? Song of Solomon. What do you mean? He kissed me. Oh, he kissed me. And my soul has never been the same. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong tune. Good words. Just I'm stealing a tune and putting it to my own words. Oh, that's bad. However, it's apropos. That cost me my place in that church and a heck of a lot more. Problem is, he did. I am. Just deal with it. That was the end of my heart's desire for the things of the church, the things of that iteration of stuff. Now I am sitting here doing this. Like, he kissed you, and then what did you become? Well, what are we all? Bride. What does that eventually mean? Consummation. What does that mean? Book of the Revelation of Jesus Christ. And then you married him. You won with him. Wives. What do you do with your husbands when you're not being intimate? Oh, you're a united force against the world. You and your husband. You get into his things. He gets into your things. But basically you get more into his things than he does into yours. Why? Well, how deeply did you give yourself to that man at the altar and thereafter? Yerp. That's the whole point. By the way, church, that has been the whole point of The scriptures. You belong to somebody. You've given yourself to somebody. You are for that somebody. That somebody is for you, and it is a forever thing. Hello. The continuance of gospel is kingdom. Bob writes, I told you once before that the only places I have in my house are for servants and stewards. I said I will exalt myself as all who fear me keep still, and they know I am God. For even the heathen shall see and be in terror before me. For I now arise to make war. Again, full stop. When was this written? 2000? Folks, I have stuff from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. War, 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 war. I'm going to war. I'm going to war. I'm a god of war. War, 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 war. The other lady who I'm going to read a snippet from, Dr. Mary Craig, yeah, she had the same thing going on. Bob starts it at the turn of the millennium, and she's in the teens talking about man of war. God is a man of war. Going to war. 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 Lots of war. So much war. It's war. In case you haven't caught up to the message, it's war. There's a war. 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 And by the way, that last book of the Bible, read it. You think you know what war is. This is the living God deciding to go to war with the planet and every person on it. And it doesn't matter whether you're a believer or not. You're in it. This war isn't a war of attrition. It's a war with an end in sight, and it will take a season of time. Moses' deliverance took at least 30 years. Abraham was told his people would be in bondage for 400 years. When they came out, they dated this at 430 years. Since Jacob entered, 30 years is what it took for God to spank the gods of Egypt. That was just one nation. That was just two men, Moses and the then Pharaoh, 30 years. This is God and all the nations for all the marbles. Oh, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Marbles are not supposed to be in here. But this is God against all the nations and all the hominids, saved and unsaved. The war that he's going against with the believers is to clean you up. It's the war called sanctification. I will have all of you, hominid. You belong to me. My son died for you. It's a blood and body sacrifice. I purchased you. I will have all of you, whether you come into the kingdom kicking and screaming or not. Might I suggest that you don't come in kicking and screaming? You go hurt your tootsies against the pricks, the goads, the my wills. Oh, shoot. You preaching now. Yeah, I ought to, maybe. Okay, Bob Wright. Who is like unto me, soldier? I am the great and terrible king over all the earth. I am the master of all warfare, El Gabor, who wears zeal as a cloak over garments of vengeance. I told my precious one that my name is jealous. I taught my servants that I will tread the winepress, yet who has learned? The children, quote-unquote children, have not been fed solid food. They have not learned of me. They have not taken up their crosses and followed me. They continue to speak as children, act as children. They look at the approaching storm and think it is but another day, another quote-unquote event that will pass, and they can return to their childish ways. So warn them for me, that I do not, quote-unquote, play by their rules for their amusement, that the great and dreadful day of my war and my wrath is unlike their games. Tell them for me that this is, quote, for keeps, unquote, ellipsis, quote, for all the marbles, unquote, ellipsis, quote, for eternity, period, to which I interject. That's why I said, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. For all the marbles? Yes, this is the last book of the Bible, the one everybody doesn't think is ever going to happen. Oh, God is slack concerning that promise. It's just another day. Trump's in office. 3+ more years of chaos. And then we'll get another person. What if we don't? Oh, yeah, there's something to be said. Nobody will like it, but there's something to be said. I'll tack that on at the end. See, it's going to be what God says to Bob, what God says to Dr. Craig, and probably what God said to me. Bob Wright, it seems whenever someone gets a quote-unquote word or quote-unquote vision, we have to have a title. I hope you understand why I use quote unquote for keep. It jumps out. Since this came, I have had many quote unquote images and quote unquote scriptures come to mind. Of the sum and total, two scripture passages seem to jump out. First from Isaiah 42:13 through 16. The Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yes, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time held my peace. I have been still. I have refrained myself. Now I will cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, dry up all their herbs. I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools. And I will bring the blind by a way they knew not. I will lead them in paths they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things I will do unto them, and not forsake them. Full stop. Blind. Somewhere it's written, who is blind but my servant? Who is blind but the servant of the Lord? That would have been Jesus. Did you ever see Jesus get caught up in the politic of his day? No. He was preaching a new politic. Hi guys, the kingdom has come. Come and listen to what the king of the kingdom has to tell you. This is a new politic. My kingdom's not of this world though. But come and listen anyway. I'm going to die for you. Okay, well he didn't say it that way, but he said it. Go read the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's all over the place. It's like stink all over the place in that book. All four books. Kingdom, 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 and the king is talking. Bob Wright. For years I have listened to people talking about, quote-unquote, repentance from the White House and America, spelled with a K, quote-unquote, returning to God like Nineveh in the book of Jonah. So many today are calling for prayer for all kinds of purposes and agendas. All are nice. I only wished it was Abba's call because I quote-unquote know what happened to Nineveh. Nahum 1:1 through 9. The burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. God is jealous and the Lord revenges. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserves wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebukes the sea and makes it dry, dries up all the rivers. Bashan languishes, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languishes. The mountains quake at him, the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yes, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his indignation? And who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows them that trust in him. But with an overrunning flood he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. What do you imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. And Bob signs off here. Hine hu ba, Bob. Hine hu ba is behold he comes. Hine hu ba. Behold he comes. Da 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 da. That song. Listen to it. Go to YouTube. Find that song. I think it's called The Days of Elijah. Ew. Those weren't fun. Water? Where's water? Is there water? Not a drop of rain till Elijah says so. They say one of the two witnesses at that place, at that real estate, is going to be Mr. Elijah himself. Ooh. Bob signs off, behold he comes. Now this is where I step in. It is 2025, more or less 25 years since this was first given. From yet another source, one Dr. Mary Craig, given Friday, February 19, 2016. Now the day comes forth, the day comes and has come and is coming. I will restore. I will be your God. You will be my son. Greek, wheels, positional, including male, female, and there's a list. Exodus 6:7, Jeremiah 7:23, 2 Corinthians 6:16 through 18, and others. This is what she adds. She was a teacher. She didn't just hear from the Lord. What she's hearing continues. Be strong now and very courageous, and love what I love and hate what I hate, and discern the difference. The devil comes. He wants that bridge. He wants the smearing between what is black and what is white. Not race, but what is death and what is life. What is holy and what is unholy? What is clean and what is unclean? He wants those boundaries destroyed so that they mix, and there's not black and white, only smear, gray, and whatever. The Lord is a righteous judge, and to his mind and to his eye, it is very clear. The boundary lines, the demarcation is set. Keep the boundary lines straight and pray for the boundaries of the nations as the Lord has set them. For I am coming to judge the nations by the boundaries, and I have set them. I am ready, and heaven waits for my command. The question will become, are my people ready? Are they standing at ready as is heaven? Let it be so on earth, O watchmen on the wall. They are not standing on a bridge. That is her word. This is 16 years after Bob Peace. But the point that needs bringing out is the blurring or smearing of the lines of the black and the white. Add a mixture of boundaries, etc. The adversary does this with the pounding of continuous kernels of truth layered in lies, spun in just the right rhetoric, which I am coming to understand is a very important thing. It's not what you say, but the words you use to say it. Package dog poop just right, and you might get the consumer to drink it as the newest health shake on the market. Deep, dark chocolate. That is vulgar and meant to be so. But what dirty little doggy poop type secrets are out there that our minds are quote unquote eating on the World Wide Web? And here is a thought, folks. You know, it's funny when suddenly you get the voice of the Lord planting his own image and thought into your brain in real time while you are typing up the rest of your, because I read copy for the most part. When I go off copy, I have to really edit. When I'm reading copy, I don't have to edit as much. So here's the thought. For all of you that have feared the great one world order, has it ever occurred to you, to y'all, that you look at it constantly, daily? The greatest unifier of men has been the World Wide Web. The admixture of perception, opinion, mixed with the presumed but not well vetted storylines curated by the advertising industry to sell quote-unquote copy by sensationalizing the truth with quote-unquote hype. It's a curious swill of data poop we ingest. And do believers ever wonder why they feel so frayed? But look at the bottom of Dr. Craig's quote-unquote word. I am coming to judge the nation. I am ready. Are my people ready? Ready for what? What sort of thing does it take to judge the quote-unquote boundary set by God? What boundary? Land? Political? Social? Economic? Religious? Or last book of the Bible? Seems as though we have all quote-unquote taken a mark right to the brain. We wear the proud branding of the world as we mold our thinking to suit the dark serpent seed and become the hapless, unknowing slaves to them. But we are the saints, the ones being sanctified. What business did we have out here in this world other than to pray God would keep a status quo so we might live our lives peaceably in the midst? By the way, that's scriptural. Pray for your leadership so that you can live peaceably. That was Old Testament. You know, while they were in diaspora in Babylon, pray for the Babylonians that you're now the prisoners of, because as Babylon goes, so go you. You ever want your descendants to come back to Israel? You need to survive this. Go and build. Go and put in your gardens. Go live your lives. Because you aren't coming back. Your kids will, though. Maybe. How many generations in 70 years? Depends on how young you were when they took you out of Israel in the first place. Uh-oh. So, what of the gospel? Right now, little revivals are breaking out in small, out-of-the-way churches. But for how long? How long till God moves to the next thing and we stay where we liked it? Or, quote-unquote, touch the glory and defile the move. Next year, this is 2025. Next year will be 10 years since Dr. Craig Word. She has many, but I'm not working with her stuff at this time. For very important reasons, I may not work with her stuff much at all. However, when your God tells you the guy you didn't vote for has been promoted to battle axe, and then you see the right-hand man to the POTUS waving a chainsaw, you start to wonder just what your God is actually doing. Then you recall that before he ever truly busts the big move, the Ancient of Days always leveled the playing field. He did it before Jesus was on the scene at the quote-unquote water hole for the initial baptism. He will do it again before the same Son returns in blood-dipped robe with vengeance on his heart for the unrequited love of his Father. Donald Trump, a Malachi? That should make you not feel blessed but scared to death. Of course, it also should make some lift up the eye to the mount from whence comes our help, as our help comes from the Lord of heaven and earth. The word I was talking about, I had to go look it up. January 25th, 2025. It's evening. I'm at home. I have been receiving a lot of stuff. Stuff like, rejoice, O daughter of Zion. Rejoice, rejoice. I'm in the middle of not being so happy over this new thing that's happened. But when your God tells you the guy you didn't vote for is going to be used by him, Jeremiah 51:20 and following, you are my battle axe and weapons of war, for with you I will break the nation in pieces. With you I will destroy kingdoms. With you I will break in pieces the horse and its rider. With you I will break in pieces the chariot and its rider. With you I will break in pieces man and woman. With you I will break in pieces old and young. With you I will break in pieces the young man and the maiden. With you I will break in pieces the shepherd and his flock. With you I will break in pieces the farmer and his yoke of oxen. And with you I will break in pieces governors and rulers. Oh, what? This is Jeremiah 51:20 through 23. When your God tells you that this is what your president gets to do, the nation is Babylon. The guy who was originally talked about was the one who was going to come against Babylon. Oh, snap. And I wonder why I'm wondering about having a nation after this. No, when your God starts telling you, rejoice, rejoice, for I am victory. Do not pity what I despise, even though all of humanity believe you cold, mad, uncaring. That's a little snippet from a word I had received on the 23rd of January. 2025. This is the stuff I'm hearing, folks. This is the stuff that makes me ponder what God is doing and wonder how deep this is going to go and how much pain will be doled out just on America, let alone, say, I don't know, Israel, the Muslim noose surrounding Israel, the Ukraine, Russia, Europe. In case you hadn't noticed, the news facilities are telling you one thing that is true. Our new POTUS got his hand in all the pies. So many pies. Oh, wait. The last POTUS we had his hands in all the pies. So many pies. He just went at it from a different perspective. Perspective. That's the problem. That's where the lies come in. The perspective you believers want, the only perspective you want, is that of him who plays for keeps. This is a setup. You're getting a preview of what it will start to look like as the last book of the Bible opens up. She's unzipping. She's unzipping that dress. She's going to show you all her terrible secret. Or rather, he will show you all his terrible wonders. And that is it for this episode of The Big Reveal. There will be more, but until then,